2 days ago, Levy Rozman played a very difficult Caro-Kann defense against Julio Suarez, playing for Spain, international master, both of them. Spectacular game. The game very, very balanced up until the very end when, as you very well know, guys, one single mistake actually costs you the game. Tragic individually for the one that makes the mistake. Okay, let's look at this game here because actually that was the only loss of Levy Rozman during this Madrid Chess Festival 2024. Let's not prolong with a lot of digression and go straight into business. E4 and C6. Now this is the Caro-Kann. So we're going to play now the Caro-Kann defense, very classical. D4 claiming the center and D5 challenging. And just as a reminder, compared with the French, now the bishop on C8 is a bit more happier because they are free to go. In the French, the bishop is not that happy and you need to engineer some other ways to be activating it. Okay, so the advanced variation, E4 to E5, taking the F6 for the black knight. But, as we said, bishop on C8, happy bishop. Bishop to F5. If there's any problem, bishop can drop to G6 if there's any issue at some point anyway. So knight BD2, of course you could have played some knight F3. That's not a problem. That's what normally happens. But knight D2, it's a sideline. I mean, it's the third option that you may be finding on many engines and such. So E6 now, making space for the bishop on F8 to come and play. And again, moving the knight over to B3. Okay, establishing the control for the C5 and sort of discouraging the advancement of the pawn. Okay, because we've got knight and together with the pawn, it wants to say, C5 sort of belongs to me for the time being. Because C5 is going to be played, my friends. A6. And now if you wonder, hold on a second, why did he play A6? I mean, it's already C6, right? Well, not for long, because there is a variation here, and in the minute you are pushing the C5, you don't want to have the bishop checking you, and you have to put yourself in a pin and such. So A6 wants to prepare the advancement of the C5, as we will see very shortly. Knight to F3, get your guys in action, protecting D4. C5 now, challenging, and now you may see, wait a second, but I'm attacking twice. Does that mean that they're actually going to lose a piece? Not really, because you're going to be taking it back. So that is why learning the opening theory, guys, it's important. Now, look at this particular variation. Both of them fully booked. I'm pretty sure those fabulous players, Julio Suarez and Levy Rozman, I'm sure they are very much, they had prepared exactly this possibilities here as we see them. So D takes C5 by Julio and bishop C5 by Levy. And now you say, wait, I just take your bishop. Yes, you do take the bishop, but probably you knew that already, I guess. If not, let me just remind you guys that we've got the queen to A5 checking and attacking the knight. We call it in chess technically a fork. So now you need to deal with the check. And obviously you are going to be blocking with C3. And queen takes on C5. Okay, knight to D4 simply wants to put the question to the bishop because that's a very active bishop. The bishop on F5 is super active. You may just very well put the question and see if you can get rid of that guy. But knight to E7 played by Levy wants to say, well, you take my guy, I'm going to take back with tempo. And he gets closer to the idea of castling. But bishop E2 didn't take the bishop off the board. So bishop e2 being played here by Julio. Queen to c7, looking at the e5 pawn. And just wanted to pause it for the time being, guys, because there is an interesting variation you could play straight away here, namely the castling. And if you inquire, wait a second, but the pawn on e5 is hanging, right? Well, not really. I mean, let me just give you a flavor. That didn't happen in the game, but just wanted to show you guys. In the game happened f4, which makes sense. Of course, you could play bishop f4, but let me just show you an idea about castling short here for white. If black were to take, you've got the devastating g4, and the bishop now has a real issue. e4 doesn't work because of f3, and then you're still going to have to go to g6. And if you go to g6 straight away, you have to be facing f4. What does that mean? Queen must go. Queen just, I mean, you got to move the queen. I don't know. Where do you go? C? Okay, C7, fine. Now we've got the F5 pawn. What does that mean? That the bishop is a little bit trapped. You can't move the bishop. And if you say, yeah, but I'm taking with the pawn. Yeah, but there is another pawn. There is two defenders here, two attackers. The bishop is simply trapped. Okay, you can't go anywhere with a bishop. Wherever you go, yeah, I'll just take it. Okay, so just to give you guys an idea about castling here for white, which by the way is just glorious. If you castle, it's just absolutely great here. But anyway, that didn't happen, so let's just go with f4, which by the way, f4 comes with a caveat. It allows bishop e4, so that's a little weakness hidden behind f4. If you had played bishop f4 and then bishop e4, you potentially might have f3 at some point, but now forget about the f3. That bishop is slightly unchallenged unless you are willing to use your own bishop to challenge them. But Julio castled, knight to c6, and bishop to e3. Important to developing the pieces. Always get your guys into attacking. Castle shot for black, bishop to f2. A little bit of rearranging. You need a bit more space here to take a nice decision. Queen takes to d4. And f6, challenging the e5 and asking the question, what are you going to do? And Julio here decides to go with bishop to g4, which frankly attacks on e6, threatening taking that pawn on tempo. You can't allow that to happen. f5, naturally kicking the bishop away, and bishop e2. And now if you say, wait, can't I just play bishop f3? That's not a good idea because it's just a bad pawn structure, double pawns, which theoretically long-term might be attacked. So that doesn't look very good, bishop f3, therefore bishop e2 here. Knight to c6, naturally attacking the queen with tempo, but queen to b6, now claiming the dark squares. So if you take here, there will be a very powerful bishop blocking practically the d8 launching square for any rook that may want to support that pawn coming down. Queen goes quickly on to f7, also defending the pawn. So you can't see you're gonna go c or d or something. Sorry, you can't go to d because this guy is hanging, right? So yeah, you may want to think twice about this one. And now he seizes an opportunity. Julio, the player with the white pieces, he does bishop to c5, hitting the rook on f8. Rook goes to safety and bishop d6. You can't get a more ideally positioned bishop. Look at that bishop. Untouchable. Very much untouchable. I don't know what you need to engineer to making this guy disappear. I don't know in what universe you might be able to try to, getting rid of the bishop on d6. So it's not going to work anytime soon. Beautifully positioned bishop on to d6. g5 now. g5 being played, and the engine gives you straight away f takes on g as the best move ever. Julio fought here about some time. I think he gave it like 11 minutes, and he came with queen e3, which is not fundamentally bad. He wants to come closer with the queen, perhaps moving over to g3, which he actually did do, play in this position here. And of course, best would have been for black to pushing and shutting off any intrusion possible via the g, but he actually played h6 in this position. Rook to f2. Rook to f2, in principle, there is a bishop here, and in case this guy disappears, there is constant pressure. So rook f2, and maybe he was thinking, maybe doubling up at some point if it's necessary, or moving the other rook and circulating. A backward move with the knight, because very nicely inspired, being Levy here, to try to readjust the black knight's position. And you will see, my friends, how nicely is going to develop. Bishop f3 now, he really felt the need to be trading that super troublemaker of a bishop. And rook c4 played by Levy here. Which rook on c4, by the way, keeps a little bit of pressure also on this guy if he were to disappear. Rook to e1. Knight to f7, hitting the bishop on d6. And now he took on e4. Pawn takes. h4, trying to see, hey, you're going to take with one of your pawns. I'm going to take your queen. But Levy said, no, I'm going to play rook a to d8 now. Rook in the corner didn't do nothing. So rook to d8 is quite active. asking the bishop, what are you going to do? I'm attacking twice, and I might be just able to grab a pawn from you. But white took first on g, and black takes, and pawn takes here, and knight captures. And there is something superb about knight to g5. By the way, black is doing slightly better. It's a minus 0.60, minus 0.70 on various Stockfisher's versions. If I am to just hypothetically take it one step further for black here, you probably, guys, you would recognize the superb knight to f3 here, which checks the king with tempo. And if you are to remove it with the rook, you have to pay the price because there is a pawn defending the knight, okay? And obviously knight f3 not just checks, but put the question also to the queen. So you might be just very well in deep trouble if you allow black to fork you with knight f3. Nice play by Levy. Some minus 0.60, minus 0.70. So king goes on f1 to move away from the fork with knight f3. Knight goes back. Rook to e3 now. Rook to e3, stopping a possible pawn coming down. But I wanna show you something here, guys. During the live stream, I was discussing with my online virtual friends, and I was asking them, guys, what is the black knight actually supposed to do here? Can you find a more active square? And following this natural way to inquire, actually, a revelation, sort of a chess revelation, dawned upon us, and we actually speculated, me and my friends. Well, this black knight would be ideally positioned right here. But there is a pawn. Can't we just give that pawn for free? Of course, you should be pushing the pawn. And if white would take it knight e4, it's a devastating attacking move with multiple targets. And that would be a disaster for white to take back with the rook. So that was exactly the best move for Levy to continue. That is e3. We did see during the stream, you don't need to believe me. If you want to really verify what I'm saying, just go back to that stream, go to the particular moment, and you will see that's exactly as I say it, guys. But unfortunately for him, he went back on f7, which turns the tables now for white. It's getting advantageous for white. Rook to e3 now, not allowing any e3 in the future to have happened. But there is something else. There is something else about this position, my friends. And the big problem now is that after rook e3, not just stopping the pawn, but there is another problem here. There is a problem that if you don't take the queen, you might be having a major problem with rook to g3 and goodbye queen. And even if you take, there is a check. You can't move to the left. You got to go to the right onto the h file. And then rook f4 announces a checkmate. So big problem looming now for black. And now Levy unfortunately starts playing sloppy. By the way, he's on 7 minutes here. He gave it like almost 2 minutes and he came with a blunder. All right, best move here, but not ideal, is the knight to d6, then queen h4 played by white, which actually threatens g3 and queen hitting the rook at the same time. So big problem from now on from black, because black was supposed to play e3 previously, but he didn't. He played knight f7. So knight to h6 now, but that's just a desperation. It's not going to help. Queen to h4, attacking the rook and threatening g3. Rook to d7, rook to g3, knight to g5, and rook to f4 at this very moment, including sacking an exchange for this guy here, of course, because any pawn takes back, and actually you do have another rook that just finishes the job. For some reason, he moved now the king over to e1. Not fundamentally bad move, but also this one, big time to being considered. You can't block with anything, and if you move the king, you're actually having rook h3. So definitely a killer of a move. Queen d8. He moved the knight. He moved the king also. Probably he was maybe concerned about some knight e3 checks and stuff. Anyway, queen to h7. But of course, that will be very swiftly sanctioned now, because queen to d8 checks the king. King, unfortunately, only to g7. Well, if you block with the rook, that's just a disaster as it is. Checkmate on the spot. And g7, and of course, rook takes on g4, pawn takes, and rook takes. So that was the only game that Levy Rozman lost in the Madrid Chess Festival 2024. Just reminding you, he previously beaten 2 Grandmasters, and he had a formidable trajectory in this chess festival. But hey, I wish Levy all the best for his future tournaments, and maybe one day he's gonna be achieving the GM norms, and I think he kind of deserves them. Anyway, so congrats anyway for the tourney. Congrats to Julio for the phenomenal game that he played, and I'll see you guys in my future live stream. Thank you very much, guys. Have a wonderful day.